I'm honestly tempted to look at this Marvel Rivals video. Should I do it, chat? How long is it? We should look at it. We should look at it. I'm gonna hate watch a Marvel Rivals video for the first time in like 6 months. But yeah, Blue Zerg, what do you got for me, my friend?
I am ready to put on a show. I am ready to put on a show.
Oh no! No, it's like the I was literally thinking of this meme right here. This is literally the meme I was thinking of.
Disappear. I am ready to put on a show. We are undefeatable.
All right. What's the joke that Flats always says? I told you so. I was right. I was always right. They hated me for months, for years. I'd freaking you could suck. You're all wrong. I told you. I'm like within a week. I was like the tank and support design are problematic. No, shut the frick up. I was in the alpha, gave them feedback, ignored. I was in the beta, gave them feedback, ignored. I reached out to the community manager, ghosted. Frick you! Mobile game, mumble watch, poop cheeks. Listen, I will gladly admit, I've been wrong about a lot of things, but Rivals, no.
Marvel Rivals, everyone's new favorite game to hate. Let me preface that I don't hate Rivals. I've been playing it since it came out, and I have no plans to stop. But the more I've played, the more I've noticed small issues with its hero design that have slowly been rippling into larger problems.
The thing is you can't fix this. Like, I'm sorry. We're not just gonna sit there and watch the video and like go, yeah, I agree with that. Like, you can't fix this. The game is designed to literally Candy Crush your way for hours of your life, accomplishing nothing. You're not designed to engage. The neutrals are by design irrelevant. It is designed for dopamine, engagement, button mashing, clickety-clackety clunkety. You are not expected to be punished for your errors. You're just expected to, like people are like, nerf support ults. Why? That's what you're playing it for. More clickety-clackety clunkety. That's why you play the game. Dude, I remember freaking people were like, yeah, well, I really like Psylocke's ultimate, but I think it would be a little bit better if she had like, the Genji style. I'm like, no, you're not expected to think. Shut up and press Q. Shut up and press Q. It's what the game's designed to do. Maximum dopamine. Listen, I don't think it's always a bad thing. We all, at the end of a tired day, sometimes just want to go in, turn off our brain, and play Call of Duty campaign. You know what I'm saying? Play freaking whatever the new one is, turn your brain off, pwn some noobs. We don't always need nuance with everything, but don't sit here and tell me this is a competitive hero design, okay? Sometimes you just want to play Bloons Tower's Defense on easy mode and make the most ridiculously powerful, goofy tower combo possible and just turn our brain off. That's what Rivals is. It was never intended to be anything but. I don't blame the game for being this way. I blame jackasses for thinking that it was anything but that when it was literally immediately obvious from day one of the alpha. Literally day one. I'm looking at these characters support, sustain without ultimates. I'm like, oh my gosh, I literally cannot punish these guys if they're not literally not paying attention. Like this is like Overwatch support level of single target sustain. This is how the game is designed. And if you like that because you're too busy and tired from your work and you've got other things that you want to put on, I am a brainlet. I do stupid brainless things because it's fun and relaxing. It just doesn't happen to be Rivals usually. The problem is that people are like acting like this is the chess of, no, it's nothing. It's brainless. Enjoy it for what it is. It's the Fast and Furious of movies, okay? It's like somebody watches like, oh, it's just slop. It's designed to be slop. Enjoy the slop. Everybody I know enjoys slop to an extent, but don't pretend it's not. It's slop. It's Gooner, Zoomer, Marvel fanboy soy jack slop. Okay? That's fine. But it is what it is. Okay? Holy crap.
Rivals' overall game design. At the time of writing this video, it's the very beginning of Season 3. So some of the things I say may or may not be.
And the reason why I'm saying this is because a lot of these critiques, I understand that there's some nuance and they could dial back some things, but like you would literally have to fundamentally change the entire design of the game, which is never going to happen. Sign me up. Never going to happen to fix the actual root issue. You will not. They would, and that's why they're like the devs just don't listen, because what you're asking for isn't the design of the game. It's like asking for like freaking Candy Crush to have this complicated drafting system. It's not designed to do that, jackass. 10 seconds, 12 seconds support ult, it doesn't matter. That's what you're playing for, bro. You're not playing the nuanced, complicated strategy game. You're literally supposed to turn your brain off. So don't ask for them to change that, because they won't.
Outdated, as I don't expect this video to be finished before Season 3.5 is out. Many rivals...
Imagine how many things you would have to change to do that. You'd literally have to rework almost every character from scratch. Every ultimate, sustain output, map design, holy crap. The way banning works in this game, the entire rank system, the length of cooldowns, the quantity of cooldowns, the quality of cooldowns, the tank DPS support, open queue, fill in the blank.
Players are also Overwatch players, but comparing rivals to Overwatch has been done to death already, and I was never much of an Overwatch player.
Monsieur, does this mean Overwatch is back?
Please do it, please. Please, 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 please. I do find this really funny.
No.
So for the sake of this video, I'll be comparing rivals to the game that got me into hero shooters, Paladins.
That's funny.
Now, Paladins is also far from perfect. It has a lot of its own issues, to say the least. Anyone even remotely familiar with this game knows that it's not exactly up to modern, or even old quality standards for that matter. Frankly, I'm amazed it lasted as long as it did before they pulled it off life support. That said, when it comes to a strictly hero design standpoint, I firmly believe that Paladins is, with a few exceptions, far better than Rivals. If there's anything in this video that everybody will probably agree on, it's that support ults are terrible. It's become a meme in the community about how half of the rival support ults are all just a big circle of invincibility with very little counterplay. But my concern isn't just that these ults are too strong or even...
Hint, it's not just because of the frequency of the heroes that they have to release, although that is a contributing factor.
Boring. It's that every single strategist ult heals your team, or at the very least is capable of directly keeping them alive, with Jeff being the only real exception, even though he does technically heal. The problem...
Yeah, I love that they added that for Jeff. That just brings me so much glee. It's just you can't make it up.
The problem with this is that it hurts the identity of each strategist. Of the 13 supports...
They don't have identities! They're Caucasian females with giant sustain globes! Their identity is the color of their naked butt cheeks on the screen. Congrats! You played yourself, jackass! All my dive characters have... No! They're all the same!
And Paladins, only 4 do significant healing with their ultimates, with 7 doing no healing at all. In Paladins, the purpose of a support ult isn't to keep your team alive, it's to set up your team for success. Exhibit A is Furia, whose ult gives her entire team 30% increased damage and movement speed. Or Maldamba, who throws a bomb that causes enemies to run away in fear. The point I'm trying to make is that these ults provide value outside of raw healing output. Their purpose is to give their team an opportunity to either get eliminations or to get out of danger, rather than just doing it for them. These ults have potential for massive team plays, but it's also easy to whiff most of them. Maybe your team doesn't attack with you when you pop Furia's ult. Maybe you just miss with your Damba Bomb. There's a level of risk and reward that just isn't there in Rivals.
Sounds familiar,
At most, you might get hit by a Magneto or Iron Man counter ult, but that's about it. The majority of the Rivals roster can't do anything but just wait until they're allowed to do something again. It isn't fun to play, and it especially isn't fun to play against. Something else that just kinda irks me about how ults work in this game is how inconsistent their windups are. Some characters have long windups and others fire instantly, and it feels almost random between heroes. Obviously, team wiping abilities
Dude,
like
every single
Wanda...
time I open Reddit on my phone, literally every time, I'm greeted with, oh, coincidentally, the first frame of a female character's butt on a Marvel Rivals ad.
Or Iron Man are gonna have long
Every
windups.
single time. Every single time. It's not fan service. Well, gee, what a coincidence. Every single ad I've seen. Who would have thought?
So then why does Hawkeye have almost the same time as Iron Man? Why does Groot fire instantly? Why does Spider-Man fire instantly? Why does Hulk have a long windup despite arguably having the worst ult since launch? Sure, it's a negligible issue, but it still just doesn't make any sense. As a Paladins player going into Rivals, something I had to get used to was counterpicking. In Paladins, you lock your hero at the start, and that's who you've got until the game is over. I've seen people describe Rivals as a sort of dance of constant counterpicking. You need to understand what subclass each hero is and know how to play with your team's and the enemy team's compositions. If Rivals has dance design, then I'll say that Paladins has clash design. Since there's no swapping in Paladins, you need to make do with who you have, a large part of that being through the item shop and loadout systems. Even if a character on the enemy team counters you, it's still possible to get value or even outperform the person who's technically supposed to counter you, but only if you play your cards
like
right.
that.
This system is much more reliant on player performance and strategy than it is in Rivals, where you can hard counter a hero simply by existing as another hero. I'm not going to say that one of these designs is objectively better than the other overall. They each have their own strengths and weaknesses, and much of it does come down to personal preference. But with each update, more and more of the weaknesses of Rivals design appear to me, and if NetEase doesn't course correct, then it will continue to get worse. As I was writing this section on design, I remembered an old video I saw years ago called An Actual Review of Overwatch and Paladins from Shammy. I went and rewatched it, and I realized that a lot of the things Shammy criticized Overwatch for all the way back in 2018 also apply to Rivals today. If you want the most detailed, go watch the original video, but for the purposes of my video, the most relevant point was about how each Overwatch hero is designed around a very specific and narrow purpose.
Every character feels as though they're designed to fulfill a single specific job, which is good in the sense that it keeps heroes from being redundant, and if nothing else, you have to hand it to Blizzard for being great businessmen. Assigning every character a specific role makes the game significantly easier to get into, because the second you pick a hero, it's hard not to understand what you're supposed to be doing. But the catch there is that what you're supposed to be doing is the only thing you can do.
I mean, that's true. That's true. That's true. That's up until a lot of Overwatch 2 designs, a lot of what people like myself have been pushing for is the opposite of this, right? And they hated me for it, but it's true. It's true. It doesn't mean that Overwatch was as easy as Rivals or that they share every similarity, but in that aspect, I mean, I'd argue that a lot of supports and Rivals basically operate the same, but yeah, sure, okay.
The kits given to Overwatch's heroes are generally pretty fun to play around with, but by streamlining them to this degree, Blizzard has carved out a distinct, correct way to play each of them, and I can't help but see that as a misunderstanding of what makes hero-based games interesting long-term. I love some of the playstyles they've carved out. Perfectly timing Zarya bubbles and face-tanking damage to keep your energy up so that you can melt enemies is incredibly fun and satisfying to pull off consistently, but when it's all you're doing in every game, it gets stale pretty quickly. Heroes in Overwatch are meant to be played as, not with. I don't have a playstyle with Zarya. Zarya has a playstyle. The only major benefits of streamlining to this degree is that it theoretically makes balancing easier, because you can directly nerf and buff a hero's single defining
The thing that Overwatch 2 has done better with is it's not really changed the fact that you can have different playstyles of the character, because I don't really think that that's necessarily true. I think there's a little bit more creativity with expression. I think the thing that Overwatch 2 has done better is that it feels a little bit more difficult to reach that optimal playstyle, and making those optimal decisions in the moment becomes increasingly more difficult to do. I think a good example of this is Hazard. Knowing how to angle with Hazard. How do you use block? How do you use wall? When do you slash? When do you jump? Who do you shoot? If you were to slow down the game to 0.01 speed, you could probably almost always make the optimal decision, but it becomes really difficult to do that optimally. Like wall as a Hazard cooldown is an inherently dynamic ability that can be used in multiple different ways, and even if in each instance there is a probably objectively best way to use it, there's still a lot of creative freedom about which one you want to use, and you don't have to. It's so difficult to know how to optimally use it. You're not expected to optimally use it. And you can keep going with this. Wuyang was, in theory, initially the same, right? Juno, the same, right? There's just a lot more nuance with that. And I think Perks has attempted to try to introduce more playstyle into it. But my vision of Perks is I still think that with most perks, they're in most situations the optimal perk choice, but good perks allow for a different way of expressing your skill. I think a good example of this one would be like, I don't know, Bastion, right? Like Bastion, in certain situations, it's probably better to always choose the other perk. But then you have way more little abilities, little buttons, little interactions that makes the execution significantly harder to reach. And so there's like that infinite skill setting that you can keep reaching for and never quite eventually hit. I don't think that every character, a hero game has to be, you know, everything has the MOBA-esque rollout. Every game is completely different than the other one because you can completely change your character from scratch. But I do think that if you are going to have a character design that has a specific goal, it needs to be I won't say esoteric. It needs to be challenging enough to where getting to that optimal execution is almost unattainable. It needs to be almost unattainable to be able to do the optimal thing at all times. And if it is consistently attainable, like Mercy, it is almost always optional to make the perfect play at all times, then I think you have a problem with hero design. I think it's fine to have Overwatch with stark hero designs that have very varied, in any given moment, knowing what the right thing to do is the challenge, right? Even if what ultimately there is an objectively right thing to do.
Strength rather than dealing with the intricacies of an actual kit.
But he's correct that the play style isn't necessarily something that there isn't really a play style that you just play the character optimally, but to do so is incredibly difficult. And it's not just from a mechanic standpoint either, not just, you have to hit all of your shots. Like, it's more than that.
Dance design, as it's applied in Rivals, limits player skill expression. Heroes are designed specifically to counter and to be countered.
And I'll say one other thing as well. Your ability to outplay and express yourself through a character is a lot easier when there's a lot of different strengths and weaknesses of the character. It is not just one thing the character does. It is the hybrid of multiple different things at the same time, and you can lean into either one of those things.
I didn't say they're designed with strengths and weaknesses.
While flanking Reinhardt isn't a playstyle necessarily, it's you using the mobility of the character to try to hit people with your hammer. That's kind of how Ryan plays always. You're just choosing the more high-risk situation over the more low-risk situation. The argument that's being made here is that if you looked at each given situation, you could decide whether the high-risk or the low-risk is objectively better and probably come up with a good answer to that. But you're right to the fact that because Reinhardt has more consistent mobility than he used to, there are more options available, and it becomes more difficult to decide which one is optimal.
The reason I say this is that sometimes Rivals feels less like a hero shooter and more like an obnoxiously long game of rock, paper, scissors. In any conversation about counters, eventually someone's going to bring up Black Panther, and nobody's going to agree on a single thing. My problem with Panther isn't that he's too strong or that he has too many counters. My problem with Panther is that his kit is just stupid. His kit is not designed in a way that allows for any creative or flexible usage. There's
Thank you. I literally played this character for 2 days on beta, and then all of a sudden I saw the light and I realized that I'm literally doing the same combo over and over and over again. I'm not even allowed to mix up the combo that much because a combo-oriented character should be go A, B, C, B. It's just the same order over and over and over again. Is that it? And then I stopped playing Black Panther.
Plenty of creative thinking that you can do with his mobility and positioning options, but that more or less goes for every hero. With each match, you'll see the same repetitive combos out of him over and over again, with very little variation. And don't get me wrong, I'm not blaming Panther players for doing this. They have to do this if they want to get value out of their character. It's just how he works, and that's the problem. To get a kill on a full health support, you almost always need to burn through every single one of his cooldowns at once. His kit might as well not even exist outside of his cooldowns. His passive is negligible at best, his primary earned him the name Tickle Monster, and his ultimate is effectively just a third spear. Panther is unique in that nobody can agree if...
No, Overwatch 1 Doomfist, I was a very problematic character, but Overwatch 1 Doomfist had way more. You could slam engage, you could punch engage, you could uppercut engage, you could use 2 cooldowns, you could use 1, you could use 3. Overwatch 1 Doomfist was actually so unbelievably oppressive because it was almost impossible to predict how he was going to engage. Overwatch 1 Doomfist was the opposite of flowchart engage. Now, I think he was extremely problematic because he was very feast or famine. Like to a ridiculous extent, but he was absolutely not flowchart.
If he's overpowered or...
It wasn't just tech. It was just like, do you punch engage here? Do you slam then uppercut? Do you slam then punch then uppercut? Do you punch then uppercut then slam out? Even just targeted versus non-targeted slam, reticle slam was a huge thing.
Or underpowered. Panther players say he does no damage and has way too many counters. Support players say he's way too fast to ever react to. But here's the thing. They're both correct.
That's good.
A good Panther is nearly impossible to track, but the aforementioned thing can theoretically shut down Panther.
My favorite part about watching those support clips is they're absolutely right that the burst damage is really ridiculous, but it's funny watching how like unbelievably Like, you guys, the supports literally don't have any peripheral vision awareness at all. To be fair, Overwatch is really good with like map design and even audio design, so you can hear people approaching a lot better than Rivals. But it's actually hilarious how like supports will complain about Panther, which is, again, deserved, but they literally do not even try to anticipate or predict. Like in Overwatch, it's like, hello, the Genji's there, the Tracer's there, even the Sombra, right? Like it's your job to not die to that guy. And it's like Rivals like, It's like, well, you know they're on Panther. You know what he's going to do. He's not even like Genji, Tracer, Sombra, where there technically he could be off-angling your tank. It's like he can't do anything to anybody but you. So, and he can't do it all the time either. So where do you think he is? It's like, it's just crazy. Like the players are so bad. They're so bad. But yeah, I mean, I'm not defending the hero design. But we've already talked about that. But
just by existing, like I said earlier. Panther has a lot of counters. Everyone should agree with this. But counters are not counterplay. Unlike most other dive characters, Panther requires the entire enemy team to play around him. Tanks, DPS, supports, they all need to be actively paying attention to where he is at all times. The thing hard counters Panther...
I don't agree with that. So from my limited experience playing versus Panther, it's been a long time, so correct me if I'm wrong. If the support is really good and or is aware, you can deny a lot of the Panther engages if you know where he is and you're tracking his position. Now, again, that may be too hard, but I don't think it needs to be a team issue to deal with Panther. I hear that argument all the time with Overwatch. It's not true in Overwatch. I don't think it's necessarily true with Rivals, but I'm not honestly sure. So I will admit ignorance
on paper, but in order to actually do that, the thing needs to essentially babysit his supports, or else he can't get to them in time to save them, which means the thing is already losing value by not being on the front.
Well, this is the problem with Diva, right? Like you see this problem with Overwatch 2 right now, where a lot of Diva players are obsessed with peeling when you just, as a support player, it's your job to defend your own life, really.
Lines. In a perfect scenario with perfect teamwork, Panther is borderline unusable, but that just isn't the case 99% of the time. You can say skill issue all you want, but that's just ignoring the problem. A hero can't just be theoretically counterable, they need to be reasonably counterable. The difference between Panther and the other dive DPSs is that Panther is made to be countered before he attacks you. If he gets close enough to hit you, the fight might as well be over already. There's no outplaying someone with him. He either instantly kills you, or he doesn't. And either way, there's rarely counterplay involved from either side. A Panther is more likely to just miss his dash than the person being attacked is to land a stun on him. This sums up the biggest difference between dive DPS and Rivals and...
And this is what Season 9 was supposed to address a little bit with Overwatch, which we talked about earlier, but yeah.
Flanks and Paladins. Flanks have high burst damage, but it's low enough for the person being attacked to reasonably respond. If the person being attacked is skilled enough, they survive. If not, they die. It's about performance and not prediction. Now, that's not to say that prediction shouldn't be a factor when it comes to dive. It absolutely should be. It needs to be. But it shouldn't be the only factor. Prediction should give you an edge over the person attacking you. It should help you survive. It shouldn't be the singular reason you're able to survive.
If the concept of burst and anticipation should be that being unaware as a support or a DPS or anything should put you in a hole, but not a hole that's going to immediately get you killed without anything that you can do. It's like if a Symmetra catches you off guard with a teleport or whatever, or a Brigitte, you're going to be in a hole and need to disengage the duel. But in theory, you don't die immediately. The argument here is that there's an opposite extreme where being punished by instant and painful death is, even if fair, if you just counterplay me, it's not a fun game design, right? Where you either get one shot or get completely denied. There needs to be some sort of an interest in the engagement that doesn't result in a 5-10 minute fight, but is less than 0.5 seconds, which I think is honestly 100% a true take. We've talked about this many times in other things as well. It's true.
If you're out of position or you blew your survivability cooldowns too early, you should be punished for that. But neither of these things usually matter with BP, because if you didn't see him coming, then you're dead regardless. Again, I'm not here to...
That was the thing that was consistent with Doomfist, DPS Doomfist over Overwatch 1. We talked about the combos were different, and it was much more nuanced with application, but Doomfist would kill you if you did not know he was there, and you would kill him if you did, most of the time. 250 HP is a nothing. Absolutely just melted.
Argue that Black Panther needs a nerf, or even that he's unbalanced in either direction. He's both severely overpowered and underpowered on a case-by-case basis,
that is a correct
which is
take.
why he never gets touched balance-wise. It's impossible to fairly balance him due to how his kit fundamentally...
And the reason why he's impossible to work is not... I'm going to go back to my rant earlier. It's not just the character's combos are formulaic and easy to do and so very easy. It's also the fact that burst damage by design is a rival's focus, because with the amount of sustain, you cannot out damage healing. So dive characters must be burst characters. There is no such thing as a Tracer or a Sustained Pressure of Genji or a Sombra Harass. There is no such thing as a non-burst dive character, not an effective one. Spider-Man, Magic, Black Panther. If you don't essentially one-shot somebody or have utility elsewhere, you cannot function with the position of sustain and earn rivals. Because forcing the support cooldowns, you're dead. You're not going to kill anybody, you're dead. And that is due to, again, the design of the entire game. Iron Fist was strong without burst. That's a fair point, but I honestly don't even know. I've heard so many mixed signals about Iron Fist, but it honestly felt like Iron Fist was, from my understanding, was almost unpunishable half the time. So it was like the opposite problem of where he never killed anybody, but he never got killed. So it's like, I guess you could still be a distraction value, but boy, that just feels so unsatisfying to play. And the other thing about Iron Fist as well is that it's just like, there was like really no mechanics to it, like to be honest with you. So it was just like, it was like these cycles of pressure where you're just a tickle monster and then you're unkillable and then you just do it over and over and over again. It felt like the opposite extreme. Like, yeah, it's just like it was like some weird, I don't know. But again, it's like you couldn't kill anything because it just got healed and
functions. Without a major rework, it will continue just being a playground slap fight between...
Again, it all revolves around the design of the game is infinite sustain and long team fights. So... And then these big burst moments, either with ults or with burst characters that make you feel like a superhero. That's just kind of how the game is designed. So it's bad game design from a strategic, serious point, but it does get the dopamine going, you know?
Panther and support players. I recognize that swapping is an inherent part of dance design,
Maybe Iron Fist
but if the only way to
that's great.
realistically counter one hero is for multiple heroes on the opposing team to swap, then that hero is a problem. I've been ranting about Panther for a while now, but this problem isn't exclusive to him. It's just that he's the worst offender of what I'm talking about with dance design's issues. In Season 2.5, they added Ultron, yet another permanently flying character, making the total amount in Rivals 4. This is especially horrible as a tank main, because every tank in...
The flying one is the perfect one for me, because the flying one, if you guys are around, there was flying characters was one of the big things that people were going, like, absolutely simp mode over with Rivals, where like, oh, Overwatch, they're so scared. Rivals is like, you know what, screw it, you can fly forever. I just love this brave here. How brave, how beautiful. Oh, it's like, bro, it's like, you guys just wait. It'll take about 4 or 5 months. It took longer than that, to be fair, but like it immediately like, oh, flyer. It's like, well, who would have thought? It's like we broke all the game design rules, and because it's flashy and fun and fancy and new, it's cool. But let's be again, I'm not blaming Rivals for this. They knew what they were doing,
Rivals is either melee or has very short range.
They're so slow even when flying. Yeah, it feels terrible. I mean, that's why Iron Man on Alpha or Beta was horrific. He was so incredibly slow. You were like, I'm Iron Man. It was like geriatric Iron Man. I was like, it was hilariously
Magneto is the one and
play.
only tank that can reliably deal with flyers using his primary, and even then, he's only meh at doing that. 2 tanks have been added since launch, and neither of them have good range. That's 2 wasted opportunities to fix this issue.
Dude, Mr. Fantastic was so depressing. I actually remember trying him out when he was released and kind of enjoying that nuanced dynamic, of the tanky support DPS, and then you're just like, well, I don't have any burst. My ult sucks. I mean, maybe it's changed since the release. This character's not worth playing. And I was like, dang it, dude. I wanted to like that character so much. I was like, and if Rivals was spiritually any other game, I would have really liked it, but this wasn't it. This wasn't it.
Since launch, and neither of them have good range. That's 2 wasted opportunities to fix this issue that NetEase chose not to take. Again, compare this to Paladins and the difference is night and day. It's not hard to have tank variety. They tried to somewhat remedy this by giving the Thing the ability to knock down flyers, but this is a band-aid solution that doesn't address the core issue. Permanently flying characters should not exist. They are a fundamental...
Sorry, but this guy is nailing it. But the biggest thing is I don't know. I mean, I guess he's just making a video discussion, so it's whatever. You're more than welcome to have your opinion. It's like me yelling at the Overwatch devs for design that they clearly disagree with me with. So I guess we're in the same footing there. But I guess my point being is that you're asking for something that is not going to happen.
Mentally
it is
bad
by design.
idea, especially for a game like Rivals, where they need to make kits based around existing characters, many of which couldn't really have a ranged
We don't care. Instead, we're going to make all these characters just be absolute unkillable bruisers and make everybody else miserable. It is by design.
primary that fits their character. My solution is to rework flyers to work more like Paladin's Drogos or the Overwatch's Pharah. Make them a kind of bouncy
Oh, if you close your eyes,
jetpack character. If not that, then give them some kind of fuel so they can only stay in the air for a limited amount of time. Or maybe the higher they go, the slower they move. Anything that stops them from perpetually being in the sky. Once again, if swapping is the one and only reasonable solution to dealing with a hero merely existing, that hero is a problem. The reason I should have to swap is because someone is playing a hero who counters me, and I'm not good enough to outperform them due to the disadvantage. I shouldn't have to swap because I have literally no other option. Swapping should be based on player performance, not hero viability. Flanderization is the process through which a fictional character's essential traits are oversimplified and exaggerated to the point where they constitute their entire personality.
Dude,
Over the course of a serial work. Does this sound familiar?
Yes.
It should, because it's already happened in Rivals. I've been a Thor main since I started.
It was Rivals. It is Rivals. It's what I've been pushing Overwatch to develop into. It was the criticism that he leveraged versus Overwatch early on.
Playing this game, and it just pains me to see how his balancing has been handled. Thor has never been particularly strong, but he did always have some place within the meta in at least the first few seasons as a solid B-tier character. His issue became that he lacked the survivability of the other tanks. The devs noticed this, and I thought all would be well. Maybe he'd get more health or the shield of some kind. Turns out their solution to this survivability problem was to nerf his survivability, in favor of letting him use Awakening Rune more often.
What the fuck? No!
Now, obviously, this change did far more harm than good, not just to his viability in the meta, but to Thor's identity as a hero as well. Thor was flanderized in that the rest of his kit was diminished in order to further strengthen.
Isn't Awakening Rune his like little lightning zap things? And wasn't that already like the entire gameplay loop of the character? And like a lot of his like utility, like shift and hammer throw, was like not leveraged enough. That was my impression. I was pretty noob at Thor, but people were convincing me that Thor was a great hero design, and I just hated him. Like I could not. Every time I played Thor, I just was. It was like this character sucks. This character sucks. This character sucks. So. Yeah,
his already most powerful ability. He was already the highest DPS tank. He did not need a damage increase. The reason I liked Thor in the first place was because he played very similarly to my Paladin's main, Khan. They're both brawler off tanks that are great at applying pressure to off angles, denying the enemy team breathing room, and helping flanks attack the backline. But the more changes Thor gets, the less he plays like this. These changes came at the cost of what made Thor, Thor, for little to no benefit in the meta. Gonna put my tinfoil hat on for this one, but I'm beginning to genuinely think that the devs regret making Thor a tank and are now trying to slowly turn him into a duelist. I can't think of any other reason they'd be balancing him like this. All they have to do is just revert him back to how he was before Season 2.5, and maybe give some slight buffs to his HP and ultimate, but for some reason they insist on doing literally anything but that. Thor used to have a well-rounded kit, but they just keep funneling absolutely everything into Awakening Rune. His entire playstyle revolves around Rune now. I just don't get it. Editing Blizzard here. I'm just now finishing up the video, and I saw the patch notes for Season 4 come out. And yeah, Season 4. It's taken me an entire season to make this video. Just don't worry about it. Anyway, they've made a lot of changes to Thor since I wrote these paragraphs. In the span of a full season, nothing they've done has really changed my opinion on this. I'm recording this now because I feel like I'm going to get some comments about it. But The first change they made after what I'm talking about was they made it so Thor's bubble knocks down flyers, which, again, it's another thing Band-Aid solution. But sure, it's a buff. It's nice. And then they gave him a Thor Force right after Rune Awakening ends, which, yes, it's technically a survivability increase, but the problem is it's directly tied to Rune. And my point is that his entire kit just revolves around Rune now, and this buff is just adding on to that problem. And then in Season 4, they're giving him a team up with Angela, which it just helps him dive better, I guess. I suppose maybe you could use it as an anchor to get out of a fight or something like that. But I was really hoping, because I was expecting this video to take forever to make. I was praying that something would change with Thor, that they would just give him some kind of actual survivability back, and they didn't. A full season, and they have yet to prove me wrong. But hey, the ult buff is nice, I guess. When it comes to actual duelists, the way some of their kits are handled is just weird to me. The discourse around Black Widow has already been particularly confusing. She's been one of the worst heroes in the game since launch, and most of the discussion around her is a back and forth of, Widow is too weak, she needs to one-shot headshot, and haven't you played Overwatch? One-shot headshots are bad. Like,
Why does Black Widow need a one-shot? She has a ton of her kit. That's actually kind of... I never played much Black Widow, but she has a lot in her kit, a lot more than Widowmaker. But why does she need one-shot, guys? Because if you don't one-shot, it doesn't die in Rivals. Black Widow in Overwatch would function fine. She'd probably be unbelievably strong. But in Rivals, that's not good enough. It's not good enough. You have to get the kill, otherwise it just doesn't matter.
how about we give her more than one actual ability before we start talking about one-shot headshots? She isn't viable because there's no room to realistically do anything outside of just sitting behind your team sniping. Shotgun Widow playstyles would maybe be viable if her batons did literally anything and she had some kind of survivability, but until then, she's just stuck in balance limbo. To me, Hawkeye falls into this category too, although Hawkeye's primary is more than strong enough to make up for his lack of real kit, but he's still forced into an incredibly specific and limiting playstyle. His exploding arrows are useless outside of very specific cases with his ultimate.
Are they still useless? Are they actually still useless? First off, I remember seeing this and being like, I don't feel like this is going to be viable because AoE pressure, as we already said, isn't good enough because burst or nothing. But are they not still useless? Okay, that's good. Terrain destruction? Meant for terrain breaking. Crazy. Okay, good to know. Thank you.
His hypersonic arrow was lackluster at best, and his crescent slash is just for keeping dive off of him. Punisher, Hela, Phoenix, all just hit scan poke characters. Their roles are so similar that they could all essentially just be the same hero. They are almost entirely interchangeable. Then there's Squirrel Girl. I don't need to explain why she's poorly designed. I get that the game needs some easier entry-level heroes, but like, I think we went a
Better Junkrat.
little overboard here. Going back to supports, it feels like NetEase skipped the trouble and already had them flanderized before they even came out.
True.
Luna Snow,
Wow, I wonder why was that? Why would they do that, NetEase?
Cloak and Dagger, Invisible Woman, Rocket, they're all cartoonishly basic examples of a healer character. These four heroes are almost interchangeable within any given team comp, and a lot of people find them boring to play. The reason for this is very simple. Their primary source of healing all come from spamming left click. Yes, I know Rocket right clicks, but it's the same thing. They're heal bots. Supports do need to put effort into not dying to dive and to paying attention to their surroundings. I'm not saying the support role is easy, I'm saying that each individual support is easy. Their skill lies with what each support needs to do outside of healing. The problem is that healing is their primary job, and the way these heroes do that just isn't fun or difficult. If you ask someone which strategist they actually find fun, you'll probably...
The funny thing about strategist in Rivals is if healing was difficult in Rivals, you would probably go insane because of how much healing is constantly. Imagine Ana in Rivals. You would probably be in tears after about 2 minutes because it would be the most stressful, multitasking, insane. Imagine if they had aim-focused healing. It would be so stressful because fights last so long and there's so much damage and so much healing necessary. It'd be insane. It's by design, man. It's by design. These engagements are supposed to be easy and long. And if they weren't, it would be miserable.
Probably hear Atom, Ultron, Mantis, or maybe Loki. What these characters all have in common is that their primary source of healing comes from
Loki. Loki's another favorite one for me because everyone was gaslighting me. The Loki's like super complicated and stealth, and you got your backstab. I'm like, shut the frick up. Shut the frick up. Stack your copies, heal bot, and use your Kiri teleport, and stop talking to me about your freaking stealth and backstab, moron. Oh, and go copy the Luna Snow for me real fast. Thank you for that.
ability usage, the same way almost every single support does.
Not a heal bot. Are you stupid? Is your brain okay? Holy crap.
Paladins. These heroes are allowed to be aggressive when the time is right. There's actual thought put into how they're going to go about healing their team. Doing things other than healing is also rewarded. However, there is a difference between those 4 rival supports and all of the paladin supports. That being, the paladin supports have enough healing to sustain their team, while the rivals heroes don't. Every support in Rivals that doesn't use left click to heal has a significantly lower or less consistent healing output than those who do. This has led to the strategies that most people actually find fun only being viable in triple support compositions, or solo tank compositions if they're double support. Don't get me wrong, I think it's good for the game to have strategists with lower healing output that provide value in other ways. I'd just like to see an actual healer character that heals in a way other than just spammy heal botting. Healers don't have to be boring. If you main strategist, then I would highly recommend playing at least a few matches of Paladins as a support character. It cannot be overstated how much more interesting and dynamic they are. One of the initial selling points about Rivals for me was the team-up system, but after actually playing the game, I realized how lackluster and boring most of them are. Prior to playing, I thought they were...
Dude, that is a huge criticism of the team-ups. I have mixed feelings about the team-up system as a whole, but for Rivals, I think it was perfect because it doesn't really matter. It's just fun. But the problem is that so many of the team-ups were either did just free damage or free healing, which wasn't really interesting to play, or were fun for one person instead of like helping both, which I think was a huge... I feel like that one was like one of the most head-scratching mistakes by Rivals because that one actually makes sense from their perspective. Like, I just don't know if they ran out of development time or not, but like, dude, who gives a frick about balance? Just make teams silly and fun and cool and do like weird interactions and stuff, Like, nobody cares, dude. Just like, you have literally like, it fits your design. Who cares? Just the stupidest, goofiest, funniest team-ups for all the TikTok clips. Like, I actually feel like it was a missed opportunity for Rivals to not do more clever team-ups, or at least the ones that they had, making them a lot more interesting, because it would have been great for content.
Encourage coordinated teamwork and add another layer of depth to each hero. But unfortunately, a lot of them, well, most of them, are just flat power increases. Scarlet Witch can continue spamming, but better. Squirrel Girl can continue spamming, but better. The Thing and Mr. Fantastic are both already very durable characters. Add Invisible Woman, and now they're more durable. Normally with Namor, you need to decide when you're going to throw each turret. If they both die instantly, you're left at a big disadvantage. But you add Hulk, and now you have a third one, with more health and more damage. Most of the team-ups that actually require two...
Yeah, like the Hulk throwing Wolverine is a great example of like, okay, maybe it's dumb, maybe it's not even good, but it's freaking fun, so who cares? I feel like there was that big missed opportunity, to be honest.
Players to work together just aren't good. Fastball Special is funny and does have its moments here and there, but almost every other team-up is just so much more valuable. In my opinion, team-ups should require at least some input from both players in one way or another, and should actually reward teamwork like Fastball Special does. If they're not working directly with each other, then one player's action should affect the other somehow. Maybe Strange can give Scarlet Witch a damage boost, but then Strange can't use his shield while it's active. Team-up anchors are also just confusing.
Not even just Kiss Curse, like just freaking give it a net buff, but make it fun to a button to use,
Why are they permanently active for the whole season? For the longest time, I thought they only did something if the team-up was active, but nope, anchor bonuses are always there. If it's a season...
That's just a patch buff. What does that mean? I remember the season bonuses? Dude, just say it's a patch, okay? What does it even mean? Like, this is the most confusing terminology. Oh, team up anchor bonus it just means the character's stronger. I didn't know this was a thing, bro. Are you freaking kidding me?
I thought they only did something if the
it doesn't matter, but it's so... Why? The most confusing way to word it.
Team-up was active, but nope, anchor bonuses are always there. If it's a season-wide thing, then just apply the stat change to the hero themselves and ditch the concept of an anchor altogether. Team-ups are less teaming up and more you get a free reward if you happen to be using the right person. Obviously, all of this is much less of an issue than everything I've mentioned so far, but this is still a huge waste of what could be a really cool and unique gameplay mechanic. And to me, that sentiment applies to Rivals as a whole. Missed potential. I want Marvel Rivals to succeed. I'd been excited for it since I heard the rumors about a Marvel hero shooter years ago. The same way that I think Paladins is a good game despite it being held together with duct tape and string, I think Rivals is a good game despite its backwards kit design. There's always going to be people crying doom and gloom over the smallest things. Marvel Rivals is not dead, nor is it dying.
Part of the reason why
listening to people who
Hawkeye-
spout nonsense like that is
Part of the reason why Hawkeye and Hela were so yeah, and it's so strange too because Hawkeye and Hela were so dumb, so strong, but it was like, well, we can't nerf them, their hell or whatever the thing that was strong with them because it's part of the seasonal bonus. It's not just like a part of their hero kit that we can nerf as part of a patch. You'd have to be like, well, guys, actually, we're canceling this year's season or this season. Like how, like it's just like complicated for literally no reason whatsoever.
There's a lot it does right, and there's a lot it does wrong. I made this video to verbalize what I know a lot of people already have in the back of their heads. There's nothing wrong with liking something despite its flaws, but it's also important to have high standards for the games you choose to play. Rivals is good, but it can be better.
Good video. I think his critiques are really fair, and I guess I want to clarify all this hate watching by saying that, like, if you haven't played Rivals, you really should try. It is really kind of cool. It does a lot of things pretty uniquely well. Like, a lot of the interactions and abilities in the heroes are really fun. Like, legitimately, one of the most fun things that I've done in gaming was No Life Winter Soldier for like a week. It was really fun. I really liked the way his gun sounded. I liked the unique take on his weapon. I liked off-angling Mantis some seasons, just kind of going DPS mode. I think legitimately, for a brainless, goofy, fun game, it does a pretty nice job. For me, it wore out on me, and I think this is just more along the lines of like, the expectations from the toxicity surrounding Overwatch's failure with Overwatch 2 and all that kind of stuff. It really led people into a situation where there were so many unearned expectations on Rivals that just were never met. And so I'm irritated at Rivals in some ways, but I'm less irritated at Rivals and more irritated at the expectations and just the lies that were said about Rivals that just were obviously not even true from day one. So if you haven't played Rivals, you should try it. You might find you enjoy it. You might play it with a group of friends, screw around, don't play quick play, bot matches are cancer, don't care about your rank, and just play whatever, dude. There are just a lot of things about Rivals that are really visceral and really fun. And if you focus on those things and you're just kind of not really in it to win it, just in it to have fun and enjoy the process, then you'll probably have a good time. Might not be a game that you play repeatedly for day in, day out. I don't know how certain content creators do that. But, I mean, it does what it sets out to do for the most part, So... And I think there's a real danger for like I'm hate watching because I'm hate watching against the community, right? I'm irritated versus the community. I got a lot of death threats, I got a lot of toxicity thrown my way, and more so than normal, I think, which is kind of the way to say things, right? I had people even in my circle that were like, "Well, I'm like, bro, you're not thinking about this objectively." So I'm hate watching not because of Rivals. And I think there's one of the things we have to be careful as an Overwatch community is this bitterness towards Rivals, when really we should just be irritated at the community and making sure that we don't make the same mistake ourselves. So if people enjoy Rivals, I know rage bait aside, like if they enjoy Rivals for what it is, there's literally nothing wrong with it if you like Rivals for what it is. I enjoy Looney Tune cartoons, guys. I enjoy 1950s slapstick slop. You know what I'm saying? Who gives a frick? If there's nothing wrong with it, it does exactly what it sets out to do. And if you like Rivals for what it is, that's fine. Yeah. And I don't even hate the players. It's not even the Marvel Rivals community that I would hate. I'm going to clarify that. I don't hate the Marvel Rivals community. I don't hate the Overwatch community. I hate the content-brained, rotted, tribalistic morons that are on both sides of the equation here that are obsessed with this weird 21st century tribalist nonsense that basically get all their opinions spoon-fed from a content creator. So don't take just my opinion for it. Think for yourself, be respectful, be kind, be nuanced, and yeah. So it's the same people. Right, exactly. It's the same jackasses that move from game to game, and they're now hate watching and trash talking Rivals and making up a bunch of reasons why Rivals used to be good, but it's bad now, even though those things were literally there from day one. and then now finding a new game to go on to say it's the best thing ever, and then they will trash that game 6 months from now. So it's the same thing. It's the same evil, the same goofballs. So it is what it is. Yeah. And they call every game that they are playing dead. Yeah. I mean, you even see it now where, like, obviously the Rivals player base is, like, way smaller than it used to be. And so there's part of me that's like, how does it feel, jackasses? But also at the same time, it's like, bro, like, that's just how live service games go. Like, games don't maintain top of the meta relevance forever. And in fact, I think expecting games to do so is a really dangerous thing to because do you think Overwatch is content relevant right now? Kind of, not really. Even this new season, it was exciting with perks enough, but we can't. If we try to replicate the content explosion instead of just making good games with occasional fun and interesting things, I think you're doing a really stupid thing. You can't possibly maintain the same fever pitch game after game after game after game. I think Call of Duty made that mistake back in the day, and I don't want Overwatch to do that. I don't want Overwatch to do that. I want Overwatch to relax, trust the process, trust the system, make a good game, and then occasionally, like I said with the perks in Stadium, do something crazy fun, revel in its newfound glory, and then understand that you're going to age again. And yes, you can reinvent the wheel, but you should do so at a measured and wise pace. You shouldn't force the system. And a lot of people are like, oh, Rivals is a dead game. Let Rivals focus on doing what Rivals needs to do, you know? I think people's expectations of Rivals are a little bit different because it was the content game, even kind of by design, as I said earlier. But even then, like, no game can maintain relevance to that level forever. It's just not possible. It's not possible, you know what I'm saying? So just like, I'm not going to criticize Rivals for something that I don't want Overwatch to be. That seems hypocritical to me. Because I don't want the lesson to be learned that if you're not relevant by Steam player count, I'm going to make fun of you on Twitter. Like, that just seems stupid. That's not only ignorant, but that's also hypocritical. What do we got, Hoodlum?